everyone, today I'm going to be talking about impact and how we can improve impact with our iron shots. So the first thing we want to realize is when the iron club, or when the sole of the club lies flat on the ground, the shaft will naturally lean a little bit this way, but towards the target. So we want to make sure that when we start at the starting position that we have that forward lean, so we get the feel for how we want it to be at impact. So that's number one, is that we want this club to be leaning, not just at impact but also at address. That's going to give us the right feel for impact. Second thing we need to look at is the body position. So when I'm at impact, my body's forming this position where you see the left side is fairly straight and fairly far forward, and there's a little bit of angle in the right side of the body. And that's the reason why we always want to start just a little bit that way, with the hands forward, getting the lean off the shaft, getting this side of the body fairly straight, a little bit of angle in here. So this is going to be my setup, and when I'm hitting I want my body to be in a similar position. I'll be moved just slightly forward because I'm in motion towards the target, so I'll look this way at impact. So I probably have even slightly more shaft lean at impact and a bit more lean into the wall here as I'm hitting the ball. So again, that's my setup and that's going to be my impact. So it's very similar. Third point I want to look at is the right arm. So when I start, what I want to have is a little bit of bend in the elbow and a bit of bend in the back of the wrist, so that I get the feeling that I'm creating some pressure on the ball. So I'm starting this way, and again at impact, I want that arm to have a little bit of bend and have plenty of bend in the back of the right wrist, which I'll get if I'm leaning the shaft forward. What we want to avoid is getting the right arm too straight too early. It's always going to cause the club to overtake the hands, and now I've got the shaft leaning backwards. So if we want to improve our impact, we want to create more pressure on the ball, and the way to create pressure is to get the club to lean forward. Okay, so if I'm leaning forward, I can get some pressure into the back of the ball. If the grip end of the club's behind the club head, then I'm struggling to get pressure. I'm adding loft to the shot. I'm going to hit behind the ball. It causes a lot of problems. So I want to get the right setup, hands a bit forward, so I create a bit of angle in the right wrist, angle in the right arm. I've got the forward leaning shaft, I've got the K position of the body, but I'm forward on the wall. And then when I hit, it's going to be a very similar position. I'm just even a bit more exaggerated through the wall with my body, a bit more leaning this way, a bit more angle in the back of the right wrist. So that way I'm creating pressure. So by getting the club to lean forward this way, that's going to cause that club to just work down slightly into the ground, so you get a very shallow divot. So to create a divot, we never want to feel like we're coming in, we have to come in steep to create the divot and hit the ball first. What we really need to do is have the shaft leaning forward with still a little bit of bend in the right arm. So that way we can get some pressure and we just take a shallow divot. So all the pressure goes into the back of the ball. It's really a feeling that you're hitting the ball very flat or low in this position, but of course you've got the loft on the club to send it up in the air. So I think, if we want to improve our impact, we've got to get the setup right to start with. So if we get the setup right, it gives us the feeling for how we want to be at impact. So if you're having trouble making good contact with the ball, what I'd suggest is first of all, make sure you've got the setup right. That means getting the body in the right position, on the wall with the left side, angle in the right, lean the shaft, bit of angle in the right arm, bit of angle in the back of the right wrist here. And then really just make small swings. So really just make half swings, so swinging the club back just above hip height, and then from here just swinging back down into that impact position. So you really want to feel you're just hitting the ball and stopping here. So it's going to be getting the right setup, take the club back just a little bit above hip height, and then come down, try and get back into that position where you're leaning forward this way. So you want to avoid any sort of turning away from the wall here or scooping with the hands. Always a feeling that the ball's going to go out fairly low. So we're coming in this way with putting some pressure into the back of the ball. The only reason the ball's going to lift up is because of the angle of the club face. So it's set up, little half swing, come back down, have the feeling that you're hitting against the wall with the shaft of the club in the left arm. So when I come through, I'm hitting this way, hitting against the wall, But then of course after impact I'm going to keep going around my body this way in a circle. So when we're doing this drill, these little half swings, we want to make sure we're hitting the wall, but we're not going straight through this way. We're hitting the wall and coming around a little bit this way after we hit. So we don't really need to go much further through than this. So I've still got some bend in the back of my right wrist here. So it's set up, half swing, stop just after impact, maintain the right wrist, and I'm really right through the wall. So once we've done that and we start to make better contact, then we're just going to lengthen the swing a bit. So we're going to swing the club head just up above shoulder height now, and then again just come back down into that position. So we're not going to go very far on the way through. It's really like a punch shot, just hitting and stopping. And when we start to make better contact, we just keep making that longer and longer, so we can almost get up to a full backswing here, get that impact of hitting against the ball with the left arm in the shaft, and really feel like you're putting pressure on the ball. So one of the biggest mistakes I see is people trying to get the club head to swing too fast by using the hands this way, by flipping the hands. What we want to try and do is create speed, but we want to feel like we're really trying to accelerate the whole club. That means the shaft and the club head is one unit into the back of the ball or into the wall, and avoid just trying to move the outside of the club head as fast as you can with your hands. So this might move the club head a bit faster, but there'll be no pressure into the back of the ball. So we want to create the distance by creating pressure into the back of the ball. So we've still got some speed, but it's more shaft speed, and we've got a lot more pressure to create the distance. That's when we get that impact where it's really soft and the ball takes off really fast. So we've got to try and get that feeling that we're swinging the shaft back down into the wall and not just with the club head end. So one last point I want to make is to look at the shaft also from the back angle. So we talked about earlier the shaft leaning forward, but it also creates an angle. When that sole of the club is flat on the ground, it creates an angle with the ground. So this is what they call the lie angle of the club. So when I'm starting, I want the club to be on the right angle, so the sole of the club is flat. And what I want to try and do is really return it as close as possible to that position. So as soon as I start doing too much with the body and clearing the hips too early and things, I'm going to get really steep in here with the shaft. So what we want to do is just feel that when we're coming back down, we're swinging the club a bit more with the arms, and the hands are going to feel a bit lower or under us here. So I'm still, when I start, there's a small angle between the arms and the shaft, and when I come back down, I'm trying to match that angle as I hit. So there's two things we're trying to do. We're trying to create the shaft hitting against the wall, and we're trying to return the hands sort of under the shoulders as we swing through, and not too far out and away this way.